Have you ever wondered about the cost of personal unconscious and the collective unconscious? Within each person are fragments that have been rejected, forgotten, or deemed weak or unsuitable. One of the most significant fragments in a woman's psyche is the inner child, the little girl who was once hurt. That little girl doesn't disappear. She merely retreats to a dark corner of the mind, a place called the unconscious. There she continues to exist, continues to feel unloved, inadequate, and unsafe. And from that place, she silently controls the emotional life, reactions, and even the choices of the grown woman today. Have you ever tried to act fine when your partner ignores your messages? Tried to hide your hurt when someone criticizes you? Or felt like you couldn't breathe when rejected, even in something as minor as a group meeting? That's not you reacting now. It's the little girl from years ago reenacting her old pain. And because she was never heard, every time a similar situation arises, that wound is carved deeper once more. Jung called this phenomenon the shadow, the part of the psyche that holds what we don't want to see, what we're not allowed to express. For women, the inner little girl often becomes part of this shadow. She carries the fear of abandonment, the sense of being invisible, and the belief that her worth lies only in pleasing others. These beliefs form early, when a little girl's emotions are ignored by her parents, when she's scolded for crying, when she's compared to others, or simply when she's not accepted for who she truly is. You might think these are trivial matters, but a child's psyche cannot reason clearly like an adult's. When rejected, that little girl doesn't understand that the issue lies with her parents or society. She believes, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough to be loved. And from there, a psychological map is formed. Please others to be loved, or be yourself and be abandoned. This is the first unconscious mechanism that causes many women to lose themselves from a very young age. This pain doesn't vanish. It transforms into a hidden script for living, and you keep attracting relationships that repeat the old wounds. You fall in love with someone cold, just like the distant father you once had. You work under a boss who constantly criticizes you, making you feel never good enough, just like when your mother compared you to others as a child. This is no coincidence. Jung called it unconscious repetition, compulsion, where your mind tries to recreate the old wound, hoping this time it will be healed. But without awareness, you only relive the pain, unable to break free from it. The danger is that you believe this is fate, that you were born unlucky in love, that work always requires you to tough it up. But no, this is not destiny. This is an unresolved past. Jung stated clearly, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Adding to this is the role of the ego, the self. The ego is the part of the mind that helps us adapt to life, build an image, and accomplish goals. But when the inner child is deeply wounded, the ego develops as an overprotective armor. You become a strong, successful, independent woman, reliant on no one. But deep inside, you're utterly exhausted from constantly bracing yourself to hide the fragility of the little girl from long ago. Imagine a 35-year-old woman, financially independent, with a respected position. But in love, she falls into an emotional overdrive state. When loved, she panics, fearing loss. When abandoned, she's paralyzed, racked with pain, as if the world has collapsed. She may excel at presentations, lead projects, and negotiate with high-level executives, but she cannot honestly express her feelings to the person she loves. Because deep down she isn't loving as a grown woman, she's loving as a little girl searching for the father who never held her with a gentle gaze. Do you see yourself in this story? If so, please leave a comment below. Your sharing might be a gentle wake-up call for someone else silently struggling to be loved. This psychological pattern is incredibly common, yet few recognize it. Because society doesn't teach women to connect with their inner world, it only teaches them to be good enough to be accepted. But the harder you try to be loved, the further you drift from yourself. Jung believed, wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. This is why the little girl in your unconscious must be brought back into the light, not to control you, but so you can hear your true voice. That's when you start to realize, oh, I react this way because I was silenced as a child. Oh, I try so hard because I once thought I wasn't enough. And when the light of awareness touches the darkest places, that little girl begins to soften. This doesn't happen in a single day. But the first time you acknowledge, there's a part of me that's hurting, that's the moment the unconscious stops controlling you, and you begin to reclaim the lead in your own life. The essence of healing is not about erasing the past, but making peace with it. And the first step is to look at that abandoned little girl with all the honesty and gentleness you can muster. Because if you don't, there will always you start listening to that little girl, when you dare to touch the most fragile part of your inner world, another truth will emerge. That these wounds not only hurt you in relationships, but cause you to lose something even deeper, your connection to your primal feminine essence. Number 2, the blocked feminine energy. No one is born disconnected from their feminine essence. It is programmed into the soul, like a lighthouse guiding the way, like the wellspring of creativity, intuition, gentleness, receptivity, and connection. But over time, this energy is gradually stifled by society's harsh demands, by the roles women are forced to play: strong but not weak, beautiful but not too striking, successful but not too confident. Under this pressure, feminine energy doesn't vanish, it merely retreats, making way for the protective layers formed from unhealed wounds. Carl Jung called this a process of detachment from the archetypal self, where the deepest part of your soul is locked away, waiting to be awakened. Femininity is a spiritual state. Jung defined it as the anima, the profound, gentle inner energy that connects to emotions, intuition, and the subconscious. But for many women, the anima is shrouded by fear. Fear of judgment, fear of being hurt, fear of being seen as weak. And when the inner little girl is wounded, this feminine essence is the first thing to be sealed off. A girl who was scolded for crying too much, criticized for being too delicate, or mocked for dreaming, grows up learning to suppress her emotions, hide her gentleness, and feel safe only when she becomes steady, rational, controlled. But what is the cost? A fracture from the very source of creativity, from the natural flow of her soul. Feminine energy is not about appearance or gender. It is a sacred power that lives within us all. It is the part of your soul that receives love, flows with life, rather than forcing it. It is the intuitive whisper that says, "Slow down, you are safe." It is playfulness, sensuality, vulnerability, and the beauty of simply being. But for many women, this energy is suppressed early on. Perhaps you were taught that emotions are messy, that softness is weakness, that your desires or too muchness are unacceptable. Perhaps you grew up in a world that praises achievement and logic while shaming intuition and sensitivity. And so, the inner child, who once danced freely, dreamed boldly, and cried without shame, learned to shrink, to hide her essence, trading joy for performance, wearing strength like armor, without realizing it was slowly burying her truth. Jung taught that the archetype of the inner child is the root of our freedom, creativity, and emotional vitality. So, if you find it hard to relax, to enjoy pleasure without guilt, or to express your femininity without fear, you are not off track. You are simply blocked. You've been trying to survive in a world that demands you abandon yourself. And now is the time to return, to heal that inner little girl and let her guide you back to the woman you were always meant to be. Imagine a small stream flowing through a quiet valley. At first, it is cool, fluid, winding around rocks and trees. It flows by instinct because it is itself. But one day, the stream encounters a massive boulder. It doesn't know why the boulder is there, but it knows that to keep existing, it must change its course. So it learns to flow through cracks, to slip through narrow gaps, to navigate skillfully. It begins to believe that if it flows too strongly, more obstacles will appear. A woman's feminine energy is like that stream, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce, but naturally uncontrolled. Yet she has imposed too many rules upon herself, too many outdated beliefs that say, "I am only worthy when I make others happy." And like the blocked stream, the deepest part of her no longer reaches the light. However, For the stream to flow naturally again, a woman must feel safe in her body, her heart, and her emotions. An inner child who was never loved unconditionally cannot feel safe opening her heart. So, instead of receiving love, the grown woman becomes suspicious, controlling, and rationalizing everything. She builds fortresses to protect herself, unaware that these very walls imprison her deepest feminine essence. Feminine energy doesn't function through effort. It is awakened through surrender, presence, and trust in the natural flow of life. But a woman carrying the fear of being hurt cannot let go. She is always on guard, always analyzing, always needing to be certain before giving her trust. And in that moment, she falls away from her feminine essence, not because she lacks it, but because she was once taught that living in it was dangerous. Recall the last time you didn't dare express your true emotions for fear of being dismissed, or when you chose silence over sharing your needs for fear of rejection. That was the moment your anima, your feminine energy, was stifled once more. And the tragedy is that you think you've grown up, become wiser, when in reality, you're repeating a survival pattern from childhood, when your inner child had to learn to suppress herself to survive. Carl Jung didn't see restoring femininity as a moral lesson, but as a spiritual task, reconnecting with your original soul through acceptance, compassion, and integration of the shadow. It's when you dare to sit with the parts of yourself labeled weak, useless, or too emotional and say, I see you. You have a right to exist. You are me. And when you do this, something miraculous happens. You begin to change from within. You begin to feel. You begin to create. You begin to love without fear of loss. You no longer have to push to be recognized. You shine naturally from a source that never runs dry, the feminine essence that has been dormant within you for too long. From that moment, a deeper journey begins, not one of becoming anything, but of returning. Number 3. The process of individuation. Carl Jung never believed that the goal of life was to become the best version of yourself, as modern society often teaches. He wasn't concerned with perfection, nor did he encourage forcing oneself into some moral standard. For Jung, the ultimate goal of spiritual development was to become whole, not better. And the process leading to this wholeness is called individuation, or more accurately, the journey of returning to your true self. Individuation is not about adding something new. It is about stripping away everything that does not belong to you, the borrowed beliefs, the roles learned from the outside, the protective layers you created to survive. It is about facing your shadow, those parts of yourself you once rejected, and embracing them as part of your existence. It is when the inner little girl, the feminine essence once locked away, and the seemingly insignificant memories begin to be brought into the light of consciousness. Individuation is not a vision of dazzling light, but a journey downward and inward to the roots, confronting wounds, making peace with the past, and learning to live with your entire being, the strong and the weak, the rational and the intuitive, the dark and the light. Only when you integrate all these parts do you step out of a fragmented life where you constantly strive to be someone else, into a life that is truly authentic, autonomous, and profound. A woman who embarked on this journey once shared, "I lived as if I were wearing a mask for 30 years. I always behaved the way others expected, always smiled even when I was shattered inside. But when I began to return to the little girl within me, to the parts I was once ashamed of, I realized I had never truly lived a single day. And from that moment, I could never go back. The process of individuation is far from easy. There will be times when you feel lost, no longer belonging to the old places but not yet knowing who you are in the new world. But this is a good sign. Jung called it the symbolic death, the death of the old self to make way for the true self to be born. And from that very disorientation, you begin to feel a profound freedom, no longer needing to be accepted because you have finally accepted yourself. And that is what Jung emphasized. You were not born to become an ideal person. You were born to become yourself. Whole, full of contradictions, beautiful in a way no one else can define. The journey of individuation is the map that leads you home, where you no longer run from yourself. Healing the inner child is not just a practice, it is a homecoming, a courageous and radical act of self-love. It means that every unhealed wound, every buried emotion, every suppressed need will continue to echo in your relationships, choices, and sense of self-worth until you face them with compassion. You don't need to learn anything more. You only need to peel away the layers created to hide the pain of the little girl inside, not by reading another self-help book or practicing a few more skills, but by returning to where it all began. Meeting the little girl within you who once carried your full essence before the world began to silence her. Number 4. The journey of connecting with the inner child. Exercise 1. Recognizing the inner child. The first and gentlest step in this healing journey is learning to recognize your inner child, not as an abstract concept, but as a living, breathing part of you that still feels, still hopes, and still longs for love. Begin by finding a childhood photo of yourself, one that stirs something within you. Hold the photo in your hands, look at that small face, gaze into those eyes. What do you see? Innocence, curiosity, fear, longing, or joy? Take a moment to let the emotions arise without judgment. Gently ask yourself, what did this little girl dream of? What did she believe was possible? What made her laugh so freely? And more painfully, what made her cry alone in the dark? Then, with compassion, write a letter to that little girl, not from the perspective of an adult who knows better, but as someone who finally sees her. Tell her the words she longed to hear. You are loved. You are enough. I am so proud of you. This act of writing is not merely symbolic. It is sacred. It is how you begin to rebuild the bridge between the person you are now and the child still waiting to be acknowledged, embraced, and understood. Exercise 2. Listening to her needs. Many of our deepest wounds stem from childhood needs that went unmet, love that wasn't given, safety that wasn't provided, or understanding that never came. These unmet needs don't simply vanish with time. They linger in our nervous system, in our behaviors, in our relationships, whispering, "See me, don't abandon me again." To begin healing these old echoes, find a quiet place, close your eyes, place a hand on your heart, and breathe deeply. Let the world fade away for a moment. Then gently invite your inner child to step forward. Picture her as vividly as you can. What is she wearing? What does she look like? Is she shy, angry, silent, or sad? When she appears, ask her with utmost sincerity, "What do you need from me right now?" Then listen. Don't rush. Don't censor what comes. You might hear a whisper, a sob, a forgotten memory. You might feel tears well up before words form. Whatever arises, write it down. Let it flow. This is not about fixing her, but about making her feel heard for the first time. This exercise doesn't just soften your heart, It slowly restores the most sacred relationship you've ever had, the one with yourself. As you learn to meet your own needs with love and gentleness, something beautiful happens. You begin to reclaim the innocence, wisdom, and radiant essence that was never truly lost, only hidden beneath years of trying to become who you thought the world needed you to be. Exercise 3. Becoming your mother. If you grew up without the love, validation, or emotional safety you needed, that wound doesn't simply disappear. It lives deep in your unconscious, shaping your reactions and your frequent silences. But here is the truth. You can become the parent your inner child always longed for. Start by listening to your inner dialogue. Reflect on how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake or fall short of expectations. Is your inner voice gentle, or is it cold, harsh, and unforgiving? Would you speak that way to a frightened little girl, someone fragile and vulnerable? Probably not. So why do we speak to ourselves this way? It's time to rewrite that dialogue. It's time to offer that kindness to yourself. Picture your inner child standing before you, perhaps clutching an old stuffed animal, perhaps with tear-filled eyes, perhaps just waiting to be heard. Look into her eyes and say the words she's waited a lifetime to hear. You are so loved. You matter. You don't need to earn rest. You are not too much. You are just right. As you begin to treat yourself with the compassion and tenderness of a loving mother, something miraculous happens. You stop seeking validation from the outside. You stop begging others for what you can finally give yourself. This is conscious nurturing. It's not about pretending the past wasn't painful, but about meeting yourself with compassion right now. We were taught, directly or indirectly, that love is conditional. Perhaps you were only praised when you were well-behaved, quiet, or accomplished. Perhaps your tears were met with indifference. Perhaps your true emotions were dismissed as too sensitive. Over time, you began to associate authenticity with rejection. You learned that to be accepted, you had to edit yourself, your voice, your feelings, and your true self. But here is the most powerful truth. You don't need to change who you are to be loved. You never did. If you're still watching this video and finding these lessons helpful, please comment the number 1 below to let me know you're still following along with me. Now, take a moment to recall a memory where you felt deeply rejected by parents, friends, a partner, or even society. Let that memory surface, then gently ask yourself, did that rejection truly define my worth? And answer from your soul, no, I am worthy of love simply because I exist. Because rejection is not always about you. Often, it is a mirror reflecting someone else's pain, fear, or limitations. Their inability to love you has nothing to do with your lovability. Healing begins when you stop internalizing the wounds others project onto you. It begins when you stop running from the fear of not being enough and instead return to the sacred truth that you have always been enough. Exercise 6. Reconnecting with feminine energy through the inner child. To unlock your feminine energy, you must return to the most innocent, wild parts of yourself, the child who felt connected to herself without shame. Think back. Was there a moment when you felt completely free, uninhibited, bursting with joy? Perhaps you were spinning in the backyard, painting with wild colors, singing at the top of your lungs, or lying on the grass, staring at the sky. Close your eyes and recall that moment. Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you before the world demanded you become anything else? Then ask yourself, which parts of my childhood made me feel most alive, most like me? Make a list. Let it flow from your heart. Skipping rope, dancing in the kitchen, writing poetry, building forts, dressing up, and imagining worlds. Now choose one thing from that list and do it this week. No excuses, no judgment. Recreate the space for your inner child to breathe again. Because the truth is, those playful, soulful activities aren't childish. They are medicine. They are the natural expression of your feminine energy before life told you to tone it down. As you reconnect with these lost pieces of yourself, you begin to awaken the woman you were born to be, radiant, intuitive, magnetic, and free. Exercise 7. Allowing yourself to be without fear of judgment. So many of us were taught to perform, rather than simply be, to be agreeable, to hide joy when it's too big, hide tears when they're too messy, and hide truth when it's too much. Over time, we learn to keep our radiance behind a mask, fearing judgment more than craving freedom. But what if you could begin to shed that fear? Start by identifying one area of your life where you feel suppressed, where your soul longs to express itself, but your mind whispers, be careful. Perhaps you want to dance in the kitchen, speak up in a meeting, wear something bold, or write what you truly feel, but something holds you back. Gently ask yourself, where does this fear come from? Who taught me it's unsafe to be myself? Who told me I must shrink to be accepted? Then do one small thing to challenge that belief. Dance even if your moves are clumsy. Cry even if no one understands why. Laugh loudly. Write without deleting. Speak what's in your heart without trying to package it neatly. Because when you allow yourself to be, you reconnect with the little girl who was unapologetically free, who sang off-key without shame, who played dress-up without caring what others thought. She didn't need approval to shine. She just was. Let her guide you home. Exercise 8. Practicing joy without guilt. Most of us carry an invisible burden, the belief that joy must be earned, that pleasure is selfish, that rest or enjoyment must be justified by productivity. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that feeling good without doing enough is lazy or indulgent. That belief isn't yours. It's a legacy, a conditioning, an outdated relic. But your soul doesn't thrive in deprivation. It blossoms in joy. Today, I invite you to do something simple yet radical. Choose joy. Make a list, a real list, of things that bring you joy but serve no practical or productive purpose. Things that make you feel soft, silly, inspired, and alive. Perhaps it's painting without a goal, singing in the shower, soaking in a bubble bath, dancing to a favorite song, or curling up with a book that makes your heart ache in the best way. Then choose one thing and do it. Not because it's useful, but because you deserve to feel good. And when guilt arises, as it may, pause, breathe, place a hand on your heart, and gently remind yourself, I am worthy of enjoying life without justification. This simple act, embracing joy without guilt, begins to unravel decades of suppression. You are worthy of kindness, safety, and joy. Feel the truth of those words. Let them touch the parts of you that never heard them when it mattered most. Repeat them often if needed. Let them become the foundation on which the grown you stands. Ultimately, the journey back to your feminine essence is not one of becoming, but of returning. Remember that you were once a vibrant, emotional, authentic, light-filled little girl. Remember that vulnerability is not weakness, but a form of courage. Remember that your intuition was once your compass, needing no reason to be trusted. And remember that love, creativity, joy, all that makes up the beauty of a feminine soul, have always been within you, never lost. Jung didn't write for modern women, but his philosophy is a beacon illuminating the silent pain millions carry, living disconnected from themselves. And healing, whether through the lens of psychology, spirituality, or the art of living, is ultimately one act: stopping the betrayal of yourself. Stop hiding your pain, stopping growing up in a way that leaves the purest part of you behind. When you sit with that child, when you let her cry, sing, dream, and love unconditionally, you're not just nurturing a memory, you're unlocking the very source of energy buried for too long, the sacred, instinctual, whole, feminine essence. I sincerely thank you for joining me on this journey of awakening. If what I've shared has helped you see the light guiding you back to your inner little girl, urging your feminine energy to bloom, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications today. Who knows, the next videos might arrive exactly when you need them most. Have you ever met someone who, no matter how many hardships, betrayals, or failures life throws at them, remains calm, steadfast, almost unshakable? Meanwhile, there are others who, just from a careless word or a contemptuous glance, fall into a state of insecurity, self-doubt, and loss of control. Where does the difference lie? What makes some people calmly face all storms, while others are easily swept away by external influences? Carl Jung, the great psychologist, unraveled this mystery through profound psychological principles about the unconscious, the shadow self, and the process of individuation. According to him, inner strength does not come from avoiding pain or evading discomfort, but from the ability to confront, understand, and integrate one's own inner darkness. Once you master your inner world, no one and nothing can affect you anymore. So how can one reach the untouchable state where no one and nothing can influence them? The answer lies in understanding yourself, overcoming unhealed wounds, and building a solid inner foundation. Let us delve into each of Carl Jung's principles to discover how to become invincible in your own life. 1. The mirror principle. Have you ever felt so uncomfortable with someone that you couldn't stand it? Sometimes it's someone too arrogant, sometimes it's a liar, or perhaps someone who is selfish and only thinks about themselves. That irritation, even anger, sweeps over you like a wave, leaving your mind obsessed with their existence. But have you ever wondered why that happens? Carl Gustav Jung, the remarkable psychologist of the 20th century, decoded this phenomenon through an essential principle: the mirror principle. According to Jung, the external world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting our inner world. What makes us uncomfortable in others is, in fact, a reflection of the parts of ourselves that we have not accepted. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Carl Jung, Memories, Dreams, Reflections. This is a remarkable truth, yet also a challenging one. Usually, we tend to blame others for our feelings. We think they annoy us because their personality is too terrible, too unpleasant. But the truth, according to Jung, is that we react this way because they inadvertently touch on the shadows we have been trying to hide within ourselves. That is why the mirror principle is so powerful. It forces us to face ourselves. Imagine you encounter someone who is always arrogant and conceited. Their pride annoys you, making you want to distance yourself. But stop for a moment and ask yourself, why are you triggered by their arrogance? Jung would advise you to turn inward and search for the answer within yourself. It is very likely that there is a part of you that is also arrogant, but for various reasons, perhaps due to upbringing, personal beliefs, or social norms, you have learned to suppress it. When you meet an arrogant person, that suppressed arrogance within you awakens, feels threatened, and reacts with discomfort. This doesn't mean you are as arrogant as they are. but rather that you are afraid to acknowledge that aspect of yourself. The anger, in this case, is a signal that you have not fully integrated with your own being. Jung called this part the shadow self, the aspects of our personality that we do not want to admit or face. Negative emotions like anger, jealousy, selfishness, or arrogance all reside in that shadow region. We tend to push them away and pretend they do not exist. But precisely because we do not recognize and integrate the shadow, we are more easily controlled by it. Jung believed that shadow integration is an essential step toward achieving emotional autonomy. When you acknowledge that you too can be arrogant, selfish, or sometimes imperfect, you are no longer easily touched by others in a negative way. Let's take a real-life example. A man who is always angry when he sees others boasting about their achievements. He constantly feels offended and looks down on those who like to brag. After learning about the mirror principle, he realizes that his anger is, in fact, a manifestation of his own frustration. Deep down, he also craves recognition, but is always afraid of being seen as arrogant. This realization helps him begin the journey of integrating the unfinished self, making him less affected by people who like to show off. Jung's mirror principle is a powerful reminder to take responsibility for our own emotions. Instead of blaming the world, use moments of discomfort as opportunities to understand yourself better. When you truly understand your own soul, no one and nothing can shake you. This is the power of self-mastery and self-awareness that Carl Jung pointed out. It is not the world, but you who hold the key to freeing yourself from external influences. Accepting the shadow does not make you weaker. On the contrary, it helps you become stronger and less vulnerable to external impacts. Because in the end, as Jung firmly stated, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung, The Philosophical Tree. 2. Stop absorbing other people's negative energy. If Carl Jung's mirror principle helps us understand that the outside world is merely a reflection of the unintegrated parts of our inner self, the next principle takes us a step further on the journey to becoming untouchable. It is the ability to stop absorbing other people's negative energy. Carl Jung believed that most of us are like emotional sponges, easily absorbing the emotions and energy from our surroundings. Criticism, anger, or even the sadness of others can seep into our minds, clouding our inner peace. But the truth is, those emotions do not belong to us. They are theirs, a reflection of the turmoil they are experiencing, and only when we allow it can those negativities infiltrate our inner world. Jung once said, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you do not know, the world will tell you." Carl Jung. The world will continuously judge, label, and project negative emotions onto you. And if you do not know yourself, those words will easily invade and shape how you perceive yourself. For instance, when someone criticizes you as useless or not good enough, it only hurts if you have already doubted your own value. The pain from criticism does not actually come from their words. It comes from the lack of solidity within yourself. Imagine you are a glass cup, and negative words are drops of black ink falling in. If that cup is empty, the ink will spread and stain the entire space. But if the cup is filled with clear water, a few drops of ink will only dissolve and disappear in the powerful flow. Similarly, when you are filled with self-confidence and understand your own worth, negative words will find no place to settle. This is not indifference or denial of reality, but a profound understanding that this is theirs, not mine. A classic example demonstrating the power of this principle is Mahatma Gandhi, who was known for his calmness in the face of all attacks and pressures from the outside world. During peaceful protests, Gandhi was often mocked, beaten, and even faced severe insults. Yet he remained calm and unreactive. Once, when asked how he could maintain such calmness, Gandhi simply replied, "Nobody can hurt me without my permission." Mahatma Gandhi. His inner strength did not come from insensitivity, but from his ability to control what was allowed to enter his mind. Carl Jung called this psychic immunity. Just as the human body has an immune system to fight off viruses, the mind also needs a defense layer to resist negative energy from the environment. However, to build this psychic shield, the first thing you need to do is have a clear understanding of yourself. If you know your own value, criticism will merely be empty echoes. If you recognize your inner strength, others' anger will only be a passing wind, incapable of touching the core of your spirit. To truly become immune to other people's negative energy, Carl Jung recommended practicing some simple but effective methods. Practicing emotional separation is not about being indifferent. It is the ability to recognize what feelings are yours and which belong to others. Imagine that whenever someone complains or criticizes, they're throwing a ball full of negative energy at you. You can choose to catch it or let it drop to the ground. When you understand that others' negative emotions do not necessarily have to affect you, you will feel much lighter. In parallel, building clear boundaries is essential. Set limits on what you allow others to affect in you. If someone always brings negative energy, learn to say no or create distance when necessary. Boundaries are not selfish. They are a way to protect your mental well-being. Every time you feel negative energy creeping in, remind yourself, this is theirs, not mine. This helps you separate yourself from what does not belong to you, maintaining inner peace. Jung believed that when you clearly understand your own value, other people's opinions become less important. Do not let impacts disrupt their inner peace. When insulted, instead of reacting immediately, someone with the observer mindset pauses, breathes, and quietly watches their own response. They ask themselves, where is this feeling coming from? Does it truly belong to me? Or is it just a natural reaction of the mind? In that moment, they reclaim control instead of being pulled into the spiral of emotion. One effective method for developing the observer mindset is the 3-second pause. When a negative emotion arises, pause for 3 seconds before responding. Those 3 seconds create the necessary gap to identify the emotion that is rising. Carl Jung once said, "Till you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Carl Jung, Psychology and Alchemy. The 3-second pause is the moment when the unconscious becomes conscious, helping you escape the automatic control of emotions and choose the most appropriate response. Imagine you are driving during rush hour and someone aggressively cuts you off in a provoking manner. Instinct urges you to honk, get angry, maybe even retaliate. But if you pause for 3 seconds, you will see that the anger is just an immediate reaction of the ego feeling violated. That pause allows you to observe that feeling without being consumed by it. And as a result, you keep driving, unaffected by the anger. This is the power of the observer mindset. Experiencing everything, but not letting it control you. Carl Jung described this state as sitting on a hill, looking down at the river of emotions flowing below. You see the waves of anger, sadness, and hurt, but you are not swept away by them. Jung called it the power of being a detached observer. Like a spectator watching the movie of life, you witness all its ups and downs, but you do not identify with them. This is not indifference, it is mindfulness, a state of awareness that prevents you from being ruled by external disturbances. But how can we truly break free from the obsessions of the past? Have you ever wondered why painful memories and old wounds continue to haunt you, influencing your actions and emotions? Carl Jung believed that the past is not some invisible ghost. It is vividly present in how we react to the world, in the fears, anger, and insecurities that we carry with us every day. He once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Carl Jung, Memories, Dreams, Reflections. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what you choose to become. And to truly achieve the untouchable state, you must learn how to free yourself from the chains of the past. The observer mindset is the key to this liberation. It allows you to see your emotions for what they are, passing waves in the river of consciousness, not the whole of who you are. By practicing mindfulness and pausing before reacting, you reclaim your power and live as the observer of your own life, not just a participant controlled by circumstance. Fourth, liberation from the past. If the observer mindset helps us stand outside our own emotions, like a mountain climber looking down at the raging river of feelings without being swept away, then to truly achieve the untouchable state, we need to take one step further: liberation from the past. On the journey of self-discovery, according to Carl Jung's philosophy, facing and overcoming the obsessions of the past is not only an important step, but also a crucial factor to achieve mental freedom. Only when you dare to confront yourself, acknowledge what has happened without letting it define you, can you move forward with a sense of lightness and resilience. In Jungian psychology, the past is not a burden that binds you. It is a source of data for exploration, learning, and growth. However, in reality, many of us allow past wounds to quietly govern our present. We think we are not good enough because we were once rejected. We think we are weak because we once failed. and we build a distorted image of ourselves based on past events. This not only causes emotional damage, but also traps us in invisible cages of inferiority and self-doubt. Think of someone who has gone through a painful breakup. Even as years pass, they still replay their own mistakes, torturing themselves for not being good enough to keep that love. This mindset makes them afraid of starting a new relationship, haunted by the fear that they will be abandoned and fail again. This is the phenomenon of allowing the past to define who you are in the present. Carl Jung remarked, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Carl Jung, modern man in search of a soul. When we do not accept ourselves fully, we allow the past to manipulate and shape our current self, creating an incomplete version of who we are. But what would happen if we changed the perspective on past wounds? What if we viewed them as valuable lessons instead of lingering pain? One way to liberate from the past is to rewrite your own story, not by fabricating or denying what happened, but by seeing it from a new, more positive perspective. Instead of saying, "I was betrayed because I was not good enough," try transforming that thought into, "That betrayal helped me understand the value of honesty and self-respect." In doing so, you do not change the event that happened, but you change the way it affects you. Painful memories never fully disappear, but we can choose how we face them. A practical method to do this is to write down your story from the perspective of a more mature, objective, and compassionate version of yourself. Start by writing about your negative experiences, then ask yourself, what did this teach me? What did I learn from this pain? Rewriting your story this way not only helps you view the past with clarity, but also transforms it from a burden into a source of motivation. Another approach is to practice the mindset of learning from pain instead of merely enduring pain. If you once failed at work and felt your self-esteem was crushed, try looking deeper. Did that failure teach you about better preparation, about taking responsibility, or about setting goals that match your realistic capabilities? According to Jung, the past is not a mold that shapes who you are. It is a map that marks the paths you have traveled, filled with twists and turns and valuable lessons. Practicing liberation from the past is a long journey that demands patience and self-compassion. No one can change what has happened, but everyone has the right to choose how to approach it. Let the past become a teacher, not a ruler. When you learn to accept and use those wounds as material to build a stronger and more autonomous self, nothing can shake you anymore. Liberation from the past is the final step to achieve the untouchable state that Carl Jung described, a place where no one and nothing can manipulate your inner world ever again. 5. Breaking free from unconscious contracts. Have you ever wondered why sometimes you act in certain ways, even when you don't understand why? Why do some people always feel the need to please others, to be loved, or obsess over being perfect in everything? This is not coincidental. Carl Jung believed that most of the limiting beliefs and self-judgments we hold are not conscious choices. Instead, they are unconscious contracts, silent agreements we made with ourselves during childhood or through life experiences. These contracts are not signed on paper, nor do they bear any signature, but they are powerful and deeply influence how we live, how we love, and even how we view ourselves. They are like hidden lines of code embedded in our minds, silently operating and affecting every decision and emotion we have, whether we are aware of it or not. And to reach a truly untouchable state, recognizing and breaking these unconscious contracts is absolutely essential. These contracts are formed when we are too young to understand ourselves fully, but sensitive enough to absorb every word, action, and attitude of the adults around us. Imagine a child growing up in a family where love is only given conditionally. You have to be obedient. You have well to be loved. A child in that environment unconsciously signs a contract that says, I must always be perfect and never make mistakes to be valuable. This story doesn't just stop in childhood. It continues to dictate how that person lives, works, and interacts with the world as they grow up. A typical example is people who always feel the need to please others, regardless of whether they want to or not. This behavior stems from an unconscious contract signed very early on. I must make everyone happy to be accepted. This script may have been formed from parental criticism, social pressure, or instances of rejection as a child. As a result, in adulthood, that person is always afraid of disappointing others, always striving to meet others' expectations, even at the expense of their own feelings. This makes them emotional sponges, easily swayed by societal expectations, losing their own sense of autonomy. The good news, as Jung pointed out, is that these unconscious contracts can be rewritten. The first step is to recognize them. To do this, you need to spend time listening to your inner self and ask yourself the hard questions. What makes me always feel not good enough? Why am I so afraid of judgment? What makes me want to please everyone? When you ask these questions, you begin to recognize the hidden beliefs you have unconsciously carried for years. An effective method to break these unconscious contracts is to write them down. Write out the limiting beliefs you hold. For example, I must always be perfect to be loved. Then ask yourself, who told me this? Is this really true? If I am not perfect, do I truly lose my value? You will begin to realize that most of these beliefs are not absolute truths, but simply the result of past experiences. Once you identify these unconscious contracts, the next step is to create new contracts based on conscious choice and personal values. If the old contract says, I must always please others, the new contract might be, I have the right to say no when it goes against my values. If the old contract says, I must succeed according to society's definition to be valuable, the new contract would be, my value does not depend on others' recognition. It comes from being whole and true to myself. Replacing unconscious contracts with new ones does not happen overnight. It requires patience and courage to face yourself, to confront the fear of rejection and judgment. But once you reprogram your thinking, you will feel as if you have taken off a heavy armor that has been restricting your mind and emotions for years. You will walk freely and confidently, no longer dependent on others' expectations or the unconscious scripts that have been deeply rooted in your subconscious. Breaking free from unconscious contracts is a crucial step in reaching the untouchable state Carl Jung described, a state where no one and nothing can manipulate your inner world again. 6. The art of indifference, selective indifference. Have you ever wondered what would happen if all the criticism, gossip, or even contemptuous glances from others could no longer affect you? What if you could walk through the turmoil of the outside world with the calmness of a still lake before a storm? If breaking unconscious contracts helps you free yourself from mental chains you never knew existed, then the art of indifference that Carl Jung spoke of is the final armor that makes you truly untouchable against life's storms. But understand this correctly, indifference here does not mean apathy or cruelty. It is a form of selective discernment that allows you to decide what is worth your attention and what should be let go. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Carl Jung, Memories, Dreams, Reflections. This statement is not just advice for self-reflection. It is also a gateway to transcending the influence of external forces. The reality is that too often, we allow passing comments, unkind remarks, or even just a disapproving look from someone to disrupt our entire day. One negative remark from someone can turn a beautiful morning into a day-long sense of irritation. But have you ever asked yourself, why do these things have the power to affect your mood so deeply? Is it possible that the root of the problem is not in the person who speaks, but in how we receive and allow it to infiltrate our thoughts? Jung understood this very well, and he believed that the key to becoming words, glances and gestures, both intentional and unintentional, have the potential to touch your emotions, but they can only truly affect you if you allow them to. The art of indifference is about learning to master that mental gateway, permitting only what is truly valuable to enter. When you can control what is allowed to reach your mind, you have taken a massive step toward becoming untouchable. 7. Cognitive reframing. Imagine standing in front of a stained glass window. Everything you see is tinted by that color. The blue sky might seem gloomy, and the radiant sunlight may turn gray. But the essence of the sky or the sunlight has not changed. Only your perspective through the glass has. Carl Jung once said, "It all depends on how we look at things, and not how they are in themselves." Carl Jung, modern man in search of a soul. Everything depends on how we perceive things, not on their inherent nature. This is the core of cognitive reframing, an art of thinking that helps you remove the negative filter, change the interpretation of events, and free your mind from heavy emotions. If the art of indifference helps you filter what is allowed to touch your emotions, then cognitive reframing is the golden key that lets you rewrite your own story, transforming failures into lessons, wounds into strength. When you master the ability to reinterpret events, you are no longer a victim of your emotions. You become the one who controls them, powerful, resilient, and untouchable in the face of life's challenges. The principle of cognitive reframing is not about pretending to be positive in every situation, but about learning to view things more objectively and openly. Jung believed that all events in life are inherently neutral. They hold no meaning except for the one we assign to them. This means that sadness, disappointment, or hurt do not exist in the event itself, but in how we interpret it. One person may see failure as the end, while another sees it as the beginning of a new chapter. The difference is not in the nature of the event, but in how we choose to perceive and respond to it. In everyday life, cognitive reframing can be practiced through simple yet powerful questions. Is this really as serious as I think it is? Or, if I looked at it from another perspective, what could I learn from it? These questions help your mind break free from the habit of automatic reactions, opening space for reflection and finding positive meanings. Carl Jung emphasized, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." Carl Jung, The Philosophical Tree. We cannot change anything unless we first accept it. Judgment does not free us, it binds us. In reality, mentally strong people are not those who never encounter difficulties. They are the ones who know how to view challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can I learn from this?" This way of thinking not only helps you break free from the victim mentality, but also puts you in the role of the creator of your reality, the master of your emotions. Try practicing cognitive reframing in your daily life. Whenever you face a challenging situation, take a moment to pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this really the only way to look at this problem? Or, can I change my perspective to make it less painful? You will soon realize that feelings of sorrow or anger can be transformed when you change your interpretation of the event. When you master this ability, you become untouchable in the face of the chaos that life throws at you. Carl Jung was right when he said, "Your perception will become clear only when you can look into your own soul." Carl Jung, Collected Works. Only when you know how to look within yourself can you truly understand the meaning of all your experiences. When you master the art of cognitive reframing, you recognize that all events are inherently neutral. The power or the pain they bring is entirely dependent on how you perceive them. From that understanding, you become untouchable, steady, and strong in the face of all life's changes. Carl Jung has left us with invaluable psychological principles to achieve the state of being untouchable, an unshakable mindset in the face of life's changes. From the mirror principle, which helps us see the hidden parts of our unconscious, to the ability to stop absorbing negative energy like a shield that protects our inner peace from external influences. Next is the observer mindset, where we learn to stand outside our own emotions and freeing yourself from the past, allowing us to walk forward with lightness, unburdened by old wounds. We also explored how to break unconscious contracts, eliminating the invisible scripts that control our behaviors. Finally, through the art of indifference, selective indifference, and cognitive reframing, you learn to selectively filter what deserves your mental energy and transform your perspective to free yourself from negative emotions. When you understand yourself, confront your shadows, and stop reacting unconsciously, no one and nothing can affect you anymore. You walk firmly, no longer dependent on others' judgments, no longer shaken by negative words. You become strong not because the world has changed, but because you have changed the way you perceive it. This journey today. Do not wait for peace to come from the outside. Seek it from within. Rewrite your own story, reframe outdated beliefs, and build an inner strength so solid that no criticism, no failure, no setback can shake you. This is not just a journey of self-discovery. It is a journey to become your strongest, most self-sufficient, and untouchable self.